80% of Lithuanians contributed individually to your defense.
A stable, prosperous, safe, friendly Ukraine for a country like Lithuania is an even bigger guarantor of peace and security than even NATO.
Ми разом, і як на мене, це те словосполучення, яке найбільше висвітлює взаємодопомогу, взаємопрацю і взаємопідтримку литовців та українців.
Hello and welcome to Ukraine in Flames, a special project by Ukraine Media Center and NGO Euro-Atlantic Course. And I'm your host, Miroslava Yaremki. Lithuania is on the front line against two autocracies. It is nestled between the Russian enclave Kaliningrad and Russian ally Belarus, and has long warned to the world of the Russian threat. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the omnipresent nature of Lithuanian support for Ukraine, from collecting humanitarian donations to collecting money for high-tech drones and welcoming Ukrainian refugees, and also how the year of the Russian-Ukrainian war changed Lithuania as a country. If you want to learn more about this subject, please continue watching this video and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss our videos in the future. Lithuania is the European country that has delivered the largest amount of generators and transformers to Ukraine. Lithuania was also first to refer Ukraine's case to the International Criminal Court. Then it pushed for the establishment of the joint investigative team at Eurojust. It is gathering evidence for potential war crimes trials. It has sent teams of investigators to work with Ukrainian team. It has lobbied for a special tribunal to try aggression and has provided support for Ukraine's genocide case against Russia at the International Court of Justice. As you can see, Lithuania is really treating this war as its own, putting all the effort and resources to help Ukraine win. Zygimintas Pavilionis, Lithuanian MP and diplomat, will elaborate on the effort Lithuanian parliamentarians are putting in, including actively lobbying for NATO membership for Ukraine.
My Ukrainian friends, I was just asked to say a few words about Lithuanian assistance to Ukraine. Well, I don't know where to start, really. We had centuries of common statehood together. We've been fighting with the same enemies. And when Russian Empire, Soviets, they were occupying us, it was Lithuanian and Ukrainian resistance mostly fighting those occupants. And when it's again started in this century, of course, we've been standing with you from the very beginning of the fight. I was in Bucharest NATO summit. We were fighting for your NATO membership. We failed. But now we have Vilnius NATO summit approaching, and I'm now in America. I'm traveling here so often to build a coalition for Ukrainian membership in NATO. We already did so much. We created United for Ukraine parliamentary group that lobbied hard also your candidate status. We are now lobbying the start of your accession talks, and of course we're helping with everything. We have everything we have in our pockets. 80% of Lithuanians, contributed individually to your defense. Of course, our Ministry of Energy is helping you with energy attacks, our defense ministry. So every ministry is helping you. So my final dream and goal is just to get you into our transatlantic family. In a way, we did it. And I was one of those who did it for Lithuania. So my life goal is to do it for you.
Lithuanians have been victims of Russia, Russian aggression, and Russian occupation. And it's not only Soviet Russia, but also Imperial Russia and Russian Federation. We are victims of Russia, and our geography is destined to always be threatened. Many people in Lithuania understood and knew what it means to be free. For many, war in Ukraine reverberates loudly with the bloody January events they had in Lithuania in 1991, a series of violent confrontations between the civilian population of Lithuania supporting independence and the Soviet armed forces. For more on historical and political ties between Lithuania and Ukraine and also consequences of this war for Lithuania, please welcome Jonas Ohman, head of the NGO Blue Yellow.
We are an NGO called Blue Yellow in Lithuania. We have been working in Ukraine since 2014. Over these years, especially during the last year, we have gathered almost 50 million euros for our work in Ukraine. We are working almost exclusively with the armed forces, not somewhat with civilians, but almost exclusively with the armed forces of Ukraine, all kinds of units. And we have a very direct approach where we try to get the support direct to the units fighting in this war at the front line. From a Lithuanian perspective, it's very clear that Lithuania is one of the main supporters of Ukraine in this situation. I think there are several reasons for that. One of the most important is that Lithuanians actually have a very similar history in some ways to Ukraine. We must remember that Lithuania went, you was called as the leader of the breakup from the Soviet Union. We had a similar situation compared to Maidan a little, like back in 1991. And also, there are very, very similar historical features in terms of Russian aggression, oppression, occupation, etc., etc. I think it goes even deeper than that. We also have a common history going many hundreds of years back, because as we can see, I think Lithuania is more severely engaged in Ukraine than, say, Latvia or Estonia, or on the NGO level. The Baltics and Lithuania more specifically are interesting from the perspective that were very similar to Ukraine at the breakup of the Soviet Union, but now these three countries are very different. They're members of the European Union, they're members of NATO, and I think in many ways they can serve as an example to Ukraine as how one can actually deal with this post-Soviet and situation. This also means that people in the Baltics, they have a lot to lose at this point. People in, let's say, Lithuania are fairly well off. We are actually turning into a mid-level European country in terms of income and BNP, et cetera. So GDP, sorry. We are similar, but at the same time very, very different. Also, there's no negative history between Lithuania and Ukraine, nothing whatsoever. You can compare that to, say, to Poland, or to of course, not to mention Belarus and et cetera, et cetera. Lithuania and Ukraine have a very positive historical relationship. The people in Lithuania understand and respect Ukrainians. They definitely understand what Ukrainians want. And again, Lithuania is a fighting nation. People here understand that we have to stand up against Russia, that we have to defend freedom. And we have to actually do something about it. Lithuania is a very vertical society. You have government, you have business, you have media, you have public society, et cetera. And all of them in between, we have good connections with each other. So we can actually, I call it the defense vertical of Lithuania. And all these factors, and maybe some more, adds up to say that Lithuania is very, very not only pro-Ukraine, but also able to help Ukraine in many ways. This war will have deep and forthcoming consequences and effects for the future in so many ways. Some of them we cannot foresee. We can maybe feel them, but we cannot really foresee what was it. And a country like Lithuania that you may say is directly involved in the conflict. I always say we are at war at this point. We are part of the war. We don't have any war actions on our territory, but we are definitely a part of it. The outcome will shape a country like Lithuania as well. Let's assume that Ukraine wins. And we must understand that a stable, prosperous, safe, friendly Ukraine for a country like Lithuania is an even bigger guarantor of peace and security than even NATO. Very important to understand that. And of course, the fate of Ukraine is in so many ways intertwined with the fate of a country like Lithuania. The way Ukraine goes, the way the war ends, will have huge consequences for Lithuania as a country, for the region, obviously, and even on a global level. Russia is just a big nuisance, big problem. We have to deal with it. We have to help Ukraine to militarily defeat Russia. And it's actually a big question mark, I would say. We're not really sure. We do not trust Russia in any way. We do not trust its leaders, or even when I say its opposition at this point. So it's all Russia they have discredited themselves in so many ways that nobody here at this point really figures out a way actually how to deal with Russia in the future. We understand that, of course, some way that we have to, get to terms with Russia, but at this point this is war, and we have to defeat them first, and let's talk then. What we could possibly, it's a little like Nazi Germany, we have to defeat them, we have to kick their ass, and then we can talk.
Refugees from Ukraine pushed the number of residents in Lithuania up by 54,000 last year. Manifestations of sympathy for Ukrainians are not limited to external gestures of solidarity, but also include a full range of accommodating services for newcomers to successfully integrate into Lithuanian society. One of those services is Ukrainian Center in Vilnius, cultural and educational hub established at the initiative of the First Lady of Ukraine, Olena Zelenska. We've talked to the social media manager of the Ukrainian Center, Polina Soromakha, and asked her to tell us more about the center, its activities and events.
Мене звати Поліна, і я представляю Український центр в Литві. Це такий доволі унікальний експериментальний проєкт, аналогів яких немає в Європейському Союзові і взагалі, думаю, в світі. Ініційований першою ледією України пані Оленою Зеленською та першою пані Литви пані Діаною Наусідєнєв. Я конкретно, мої обов'язки – це соціальний менеджмент, висвітлення подій, заходів і всього того, що пов'язано з Українським центром в соціальних мережах. Центр існує з червня минулого року, і за цей рік, вже майже рік, крізь нас пройшло близько, навіть вже більше 17 тисяч українців, які вимушено перебувають в Литві. Ми ініціювали доволі багато проєктів, які інтегровані на соціалізацію українців в Литві і взагалі від українців для українців. І доволі сильно відчуваємо таку підтримку Литви. Один з таких філософських напрямків нашого проєкту, взагалі нашого простору, є «Мес-карту». З литовською це прикладається як «ми разом». І, як на мене, це словосполучення, яке найбільше висвітлює взаємодопомогу, взаємопрацю і взаємопідтримку литовців та українців. А почну з того, що Український центр в першу чергу є культурно-просвітницьким простором, тобто ми не є тим проєктом, який конкретно займається мігрантами, тобто ми не ведемо людину від прибуття в Литві до міграційних центрів, до оформлення, наприклад, документів, тому подібне. Ми можемо надати інформацію, де це шукати, як це зробити, але ми не є таким конкретним простором, яким цим займається. Ми більше надаємо приміщення для проєктів, пов'язані з культурою, освітництвом, просвітництвом щодо України та щодо Литви і взагалі європейської інтеграції України в умовах повномасштабного вторгнення в Росії до України. Моя робота полягає в тому, щоб якомога більше залучити українців до діяльності в нашому просторі через соціальні мережі, такі як Telegram, Facebook та Instagram. Тобто висвітлити максимально те, що відбувається в межах нашого простору, в межах нашого такого ком'юніті, яке тут вже зібралось, і щоб українці знали, що у них є таке безпечне місце, в яке вони можуть прийти, отримати нові знання, навички і отримати такий сяючий спогад серед всього цього хаосу. Литва – це доволі супортів країна, яка нас доволі сильно підтримує, і литовці особисто у мене сироти шкірою йдуть, коли я думаю про те, яку підтримку вони нам надають. Наприклад, візьмемо акцію радаром. Це вона була завершена 24 лютого і тривала, я можу тут, так би мовити, помилятися, але близько тижня. І буквально за тиждень литовці, населення якої від 2,5 до 3 мільйонів, зібрали 10 мільйонів євро на допомогу Україні саме на радари, тому і радаром. Або ж у них є один відомий такий журналіст, який ініціював акцію, можливо, чули про аеродрони, якщо мені не зраджує пам'ять, і тому подібне. От, вони буквально за 1 годину зібрали 3 мільйони євро на реалізацію цього проєкту з цими аеророзвідними дронами. Тобто Литва нас підтримує доволі потужно, я не знаю. От, розкажу про свій досвід. Я прилетіла до Литви за 1 день до вторгнення, до повноштабної агресії Росії на території України. І що мене особисто вразило, 23 лютого усюди були вивесені саме литовські прапори, литовські герби. 24 лютого я виходжу, і все змінилось просто в одну ніч на українські прапори. І перші місяці український прапор знайти в Литві було неможливо, тому що тільки він з'являється на поличках, його одразу скуповують і все. Треба або самому шити, або їхати до України, шукати його там. Потім люди, вони постійно цікавляться, вони постійно питають, вони намагаються вчити українську мову, щоб розуміти нас. Вони створюють багато ініціатив для українців, щоб їм було комфортно інтегруватись в це суспільство для вивчення мови, для вивчення культури, історії, звичок і традицій. І це так доволі потужно.
You've been watching the special project by Ukraine Media Center and Euro-Atlantic course dedicated to the Russian-Ukrainian war, Ukraine in Flames. In the description under this video, you can find information on how you can help Ukraine fight Russian aggression. If you find our work useful, please like and share this video. Slava Ukraini!